enslavement lasted for over 400 years. Millions of African children, women and men were trafficked across the Atlantic, ripped from their families and homelands, their communities torn apart, their bodies commodified, their humanity denied. The history of slavery is a history of suffering and barbarity that shows humanity at its worst.
Jamaica was the Caribbean's largest slave market. The British imported into Jamaica 1.3 million Africans. At the end of slavery in 1838, there were 300,000 remaining. The question has to be asked then, how do you reduce 1.3 million people to 300,000 after 200 years? Less than 25% survival. Slavery in Jamaica was genocidal. When the British Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, visited Jamaica, he did not wish to speak of the colonial past. Britain had taken Jamaica from the Spanish in 1655 and had ruled Jamaica until 1962, when Jamaica forcefully demanded its independence. And so he said, there will be no apology for slavery, there will be no conversation about reparatory justice. The French president, Mr. Holland, had also visited a Caribbean colony in Guadeloupe. He too said there will be no apology for slavery and there will be no reparations. But he was in Guadeloupe to open a multi-million euro museum dedicated to slavery as a gift from the people of France, so that the African community in the French islands could see the horror of slavery displayed in their museum. He went on to add that France owes the people of the Caribbean a debt of gratitude. But this gratitude would not be expressed in either an apology or in any form of reparatory justice. All of this came against the background of what had transpired in 2001, when President Aristide of Haiti demanded the return of the 150 million francs that France had insisted that Haiti pay for their own self-liberation. You may recall that Haiti had fought a war of liberation, declared their independence on the 1st of January 1804. The Haitians were the first people on this planet to give Napoleon Bonaparte a whipping. And in return for this whipping, France insists that if the Haitians wish to be recognized as an independent nation state, they will have to pay compensation to their former enslavers. 1825, the Haitians are celebrating the 21st anniversary of their independence. France had refused to recognize Haiti as an independent nation. All the slave-owning nations of the Western world, Britain, Spain, Portugal, Holland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the United States, all said they will not recognize Haiti until the French recognize Haiti. The French said, if you want recognition, you pay for it. The Haitian people in 1825 had therefore a decision to make on their 21st anniversary. There were parties in Port-au-Prince, but there were also French gunboats in the harbor. The Haitian cabinet met and agreed that they wished to be reinserted into the international community, and this reinsertion would cost them 150 million francs, which is 21 billion US dollars in contemporary money. This money was paid, agreed to be paid, and was paid to the French government over 100 years. This extraction of economic value out of Haiti in the first 100 years of its nationhood crippled that nation. In some years in the 19th century, The payment to France in reparations accounted for 60 to 70% of the foreign exchange earnings of that nation. Aristide asks for the return of this money to the people of Haiti. He wrote to the French government, government to government, calling for the return of this money. The French government invaded Haiti. Aristide was overthrown and removed from office. His successor, his first public statement was that the claim for reparations and the repayment of this money was a criminal act and removed from the state. And therein was the end of that.
Once upon a time, in the 18th century, a group of enslaved Igbo people were brought to the shores of St. Simon's Island, Georgia. The Igbo people were known for their strong cultural traditions and fierce resistance against slavery. When they arrived at the plantation, the Igbo people refused to accept their fate as slaves. Instead, they devised a plan to regain their freedom. They decided to walk into the nearby river and drown themselves, believing that in death they would be able to return to their homeland. On the day of their plan, the Igbo people walked towards the river in unison. They sang songs of their homeland and carried with them the hope of freedom. As they reached the edge of the river, they held hands and walked into the water, one by one. As they walked, their voices grew louder and more powerful. They refused to accept the fate that had been forced upon them. They believed that in death, they would be able to return to their homeland and live free once again. Legend has it that as they reached the middle of the river, the water began to rise and swirl around them. The Igbo people continued to sing and hold hands, determined to regain their freedom. Suddenly, the water parted, and the Igbo people walked on the water, disappearing into the horizon. Today, the site where the Igbo people walked into the river is known as Igbo Landing. It is a place of great cultural significance, and is seen as a symbol of resistance against slavery. The memory of the Igbo people lives on, and their story serves as a reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit.
But it's also a history of inspiring courage that shows human beings at their best, starting with enslaved people who rose up against impossible odds and extending to the abolitionists who spoke out against this atrocious crime. And yet, the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade haunts us to this day. We can draw a straight line from the centuries of colonial exploitation to the social and economic inequalities of today. And we can recognize the racist tropes popularized to rationalize the inhumanity of the slave trade in the white supremacist hate that is resurgent today. It is incumbent on us all to fight slavery's legacy of racism. The most powerful weapon in our arsenal is education, the theme of this year's commemoration. By teaching the history of slavery, we hope to guard against humanity's most vicious impulses. By studying the assumptions and beliefs that allowed the practice to flourish for centuries, we unmask the racism of our own time. And by honoring the victims of slavery, we restore some measure of dignity to those who were so mercilessly stripped of it. Today and every day, let us stand united against racism and together build a world in which everyone, everywhere, can live lives of liberty, dignity, and human rights.